All right, guys, welcome back. Last two trig parent functions we'll be going over are secant and cosecant. So the first one I'm going to go over is secant. I'm going to go ahead and fill out my chart. Again, we're just going to use the x values that are provided from the unit circle. So we have 0, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2. Now, some of them I'm going to kind of show you where they'll be on here, even though I'm not marking it on the chart, because you kind of have to see, you kind of need them in order to kind of see what's going to happen to the graph. So let's see, where else was I? 3 pi over 2 and then 2 pi. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and fill this out as I know. So secant is 1 over cosine, which is going to be 1 over the x value of each of these on the graph. Now, I mean, you could look at the unit circle, find the x value of each one, and put 1 over it, such as 0. If I go, the x value is 1, 0 over 1 is going to be 0. All right, at pi over 2, it's 0 over 0. I'm sorry, 1 over 0, which is going to be undefined. All right, and then at pi, we have 1 over -1, which is going to give us a -1. 3 pi over 2, 1 over 0 again, it's going to be undefined. And then 2 pi will look just like 0, it will be a 0. So if I were just to mark these, you wouldn't be able to see exactly what the graph's going to do, and I'm just going to show you. So we're going to start by only marking what's here. Pi over 2, undefined. That means asymptotes. All right, and then pi, -1. 3 pi over 2, undefined. 2 pi, 0. Oh, wait. No. That's my bad here. These should not be 0. Okay, the x value at 0 is 1, so it should be 1 over 1, which is 1, and 2 pi will be the same, 1. I don't know what I was thinking. That's my bad. Here we go. So you're basically alternating between positive. I knew it wasn't going to look right. I was very confused myself. All right, and I'm going to do the same thing here. Keep marking the asymptotes as they would be. At negative pi, we'll have a -1, another asymptote, +1. And this is pretty much what you get to see, and you're not very much shown really anything that's going on with secant. So I'm going to kind of complete some missing spots for you here. And I really don't like the graph that we've chose because it just makes it very difficult to kind of see what's going on. So I actually have a picture of it I'm going to show you as well. And obviously you can graph it on Desmos and see what it will look like. But I'm just going to fill in some missing pieces. So if you were at pi over 3, and pi over 3 will be somewhere over here, kind of like in between. It'd be about right here. Pi over 3 would give you 2. And so would negative pi over 3. All right, 2 pi over 3, which will be around 2/3 here, will give you a -2. And it will be the same thing. So each area will look like this. And again, I will show you. What it looks like, because I have a little picture of it here. And so this will be secant. And so this is what I have here. So it's going to look like this, and this is a much better graph, obviously, because the y-axis just shows you a lot more numbers and shows you how they are continuous as they go up and down. So these lines will continue to go further down and further up. I don't know why we have it so like focused in on only 1 and -1, because it just doesn't show you a lot of what's going on with the graph. All right, so let's talk about the domain for a second. The domain is going to be the same here as it was for our tangent. It is not going to include, because the asymptotes are at the pi over 2's, all the increments of pi over 2. X will not include pi over 2 plus whatever increment of pi. So whether it's negative 5 pi over 2, all right, that's negative 2 pi and a pi over 2. And that's where the constant comes in. All right, now the range is going to be a little tricky here. As you can tell, it does not come under +1 or above -1. So our range is going to include everything from negative infinity to -1, and then everything from +1 to positive infinity. It never goes past -1 or past +1 in this area. All right, and then as far as special features go, we will say that this is actually going to be an even function because it can be reflected over the y-axis here. I believe there's only 2 that are even. And then again, we've got asymptotes, which are located at the pi over 2 plus pi k. All right, and then our last graph is going to be cosecant, which is going to be 1 over sine, 1 over each of the y values. I'm going to go ahead and mark 0, pi over 2. This one's going to, I'm sure you can already tell, look very similar to this one, basically just the reciprocal of it. And so again, I'll have to include some values that aren't going to be on this chart. Where was I? Pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. So again, this is going to be based off of our y values. So at 0, 1 over 0 is going to be undefined. Pi over 2, it's got to be 1 over 1. And then again at pi, we'll have another undefined. All right, 3 pi over 2 will give us a -1, 2 pi undefined. I'm sure you're starting to see the pattern here. So at 0, undefined. Pi, undefined. 2 pi, undefined. -pi, undefined. So all increments of pi are undefined here. All the whole numbers. All right, at pi over 2, we have a +1. And now we know it's going to alternate from there. -1, +1, -1, +1, and so on and so forth. All right, again, we will see if we were to be at pi over 6 here, that would have a, let's see, pi over 6 would be somewhere in this area. It would be a +2. So again, we're going to see the exact same thing from before. If this graph were made a little better, you would get to see more of the y-axis, which would show you how these continue to go. And again, I'll show you a picture of it because it's going to look exactly like secant, except just shifted over. Now, luckily, you guys have access to graphing calculators and Desmos all throughout this unit, which is going to help you a lot. But these notes will also be a big benefit to you because it kind of breaks down each graph. So let's talk about the domain. Again, the domain is going to include all x values except the increments of pi. All right, the range is going to be exactly the same as secant. So we have everything from -infinity to -1. And then from +1 to positive infinity. All right, and then the special features are going to be the same as well, except for the fact that this one is an odd function because we could rotate this around the origin. right, and then asymptotes are at increments of pi. All right, and that's going to be cosecant, and this is the graph of secant here, or cosecant here. It is going to be the opposite, as you can tell, from secant, but this is the graph of cosecant, so just to give you a better visual of what to see. And those are your parent functions.